Hello everybody. One is a very well-known book that is this one by Shankar Rao, Partial Differential Equation, and this is one book, Partial Differential Equation by K. Shankar Rao. Shankar Rao. This is one book, and second book that I think it would be useful to you. Both of these two books would be useful to you. This is the second book. The internet connection is very slow. Let's get internet connection done. Yes, this one. Introduction to partial differential equation. Along with that, one more part is there, Laplace transform. It is not currently included in your syllabus. Introduction to partial differential equation. But this book would not be self-sufficient for the entire chapter, I suppose. And there are other books as well available in market. One such book would be the book by Amarnath. Where is this? I don't know. কোথায় গেছে কে জানে? Yes, this one. Book by Amarnath. This is very concise book. I don't know whether it would be possible to read out this book for you. Anyway, more or less, book is easy, but a very concise book. Everything is written in a very short manner. Partial differential equation. If you want to buy, please buy this paper back, this one, because this hardcover, this is very costly. This is Indian edition. So these are few books, and one more book is there, the book of কোথায় গেল নামটা, Rising Onion. Book of Rising Onion. Anyway, so that is all. Rising Onion, the book of Rising Onion is about ordinary differential equation as well as partial differential equation. Rising Onion. So these are few more or less few books that you can refer in this treatise. So I shall mainly go through this book by Shankara Rao, and a little bit about this book from this the writer Deepak Kumar Ghosh. Okay, so let's start. এটা কি কিসের? Yeah, this is the book of Rising Onion. Ordinary and partial differential equation. Okay, so these are a few books that you can go through, whatever you like. So let's start. Now, partial differential equation, and in order to study this partial differential equation, you see, I already have this soft copy of the book of Rising Onion. Not Rising Onion, that is a book of Shankara Rao. K. Shankara Rao. So I would refer this book in this course. What is partial differential equation? Let us first start with this idea of partial differential equation. Partial differential equation, this is actually This is actually a differential equation involving partial derivatives. You already got the idea of partial derivative in the calculus of several variables. Hmm? And if we have a relationship involving the partial derivatives, that one dependent variable and more than one independent variables, then such a relation is called a partial differential equation. Over here, we have, you see over here, this z is dependent on these two independent variables x and y. So this z is a dependent variable, and x and y are two independent variables. And we have the partial derivatives and del z del x and del z del y. Now, if we have a relation involving these quantities x, y, z, and their partial derivatives del z del x and del z del y, then we call such relation a partial order relation. Sorry, not partial order relation, a partial differential equation. We call such relation a partial differential equation, or in short, this is called PDE, partial differential equation. Okay. And in future, we shall designate these two partial derivatives del z del x by the notation small p, and del z del y by the notation small q. So this kind of relation will be ultimately written in this fashion: f of x, y, z, comma p, comma q is equal to 0. So this is a partial differential equation. And what is the order of this partial differential equation? Its order is equal to 1, because over here the partial derivatives, the order of the partial derivatives are equal to 1. The highest order derivative involved in a differential equation is called the order of that differential equation. Over here we have only first order derivatives involved in this differential equation, so this is called first order differential equation. Similarly, if we have second order derivatives, maybe pure derivatives, like del z, del square, this kind of derivative like del square z, del x square, maybe this kind of derivative, or some mixed category of derivative might be there. So those kind of differential equations having second order partial derivative, those kind of differential equations will be called second order partial derivatives. Okay. Over here, we shall try to restrict the discussion involving only a single variable, single dependent variable z, and two independent variables x and y. But in general, this is actually an introductory course. But in general, in a differential equation, in a partial differential equation, we have more than two independent variables. Sometimes the time is also taken as an independent variable, along with the space variables like x, y, etc. Now, in order to understand what would be the behavior of the solution, so over here, what is the solution? You see, I told you that z would be dependent on the independent variables x and y. So we expect that the solution will look in this fashion: z is equal to some function of x comma y. Okay, and geometrically, what would be their configuration? You see, over here we would require three coordinate axis. One would be this kind of x-axis, another would be this kind of y-axis, and the third would be this kind of z-axis. So z is equal to f of x comma y. This kind of quantity z is equal to f of x comma y. This kind of function will be defined on certain domain in this xy plane. Hmm. We call it this kind of domain as the domain omega. Got it? So this domain omega is actually a subset of this xy plane, or we can say subset of R2. Hmm? Cross product of the set of real numbers R2. Hmm. So over here, for each and every point in this domain, we would get several points, several values of z, and all these z values will construct a surface. Hmm. All such z values, for each and every values in this omega, this kind of z values will construct a surface. Hmm. And this surface will be given by this kind of function z is equal to f of x comma y. Okay, so solution to this kind of partial differential equation will be a surface. Now, generally, you see in construction, in this construction, you see we require the partial derivatives. So we can say that z should be differentiable, or the derivative of z with respect to x and y should exist. So we can say that this z would be derivable function, or the function a could be a derivable function. And for the existence of the solution, we mostly choose that the derivatives should be continuous. Got it? Because we require this kind of continuity property when we want to solve this kind of partial differential equation. And whenever the derivative of a partial, and whenever the partial derivatives of this kind of function exist, and they are continuous, then this kind of functions become differentiable function. Okay, so we can say that over here this z would be a differentiable function of x comma y. All right, and whenever it is a differentiable function, mostly we can say that if it is a differentiable function, then the function would be a continuous function. That means this surface given by the function f of x comma y, this surface will be a continuous surface. We would not have any break or jump discontinuity in this kind of solution given by this kind of surface, solution to the partial differential equation given by this kind of surface. So we can say that this solution would be more or less a continuous surface. Now in this kind of solution, you see z is equal to f of x comma y. This kind of function z is equal to f of x comma y represents a continuous surface in three-dimensional space, in three-dimensional x y z space. Hmm. And over here I am going to introduce some idea of different kind of partial differential equation of first order. Hmm. We generally classify them in different way. Hmm. What is this over here? Hmm. Suppose we have. Let me first. Okay. Let me first start with this one. Suppose the we want a linear equation. You see, if you recall the definition of linear ordinary differential equation, then in case of ordinary differential equation, we had a dependent variable y and an independent variable x, and we used to say that if an ordinary differential equation is linear in y, then y prime, y double prime, etc. in its derivative, then we used to call that equation linear ordinary differential equation. Hmm. But over here, uh, in ordinary differential equation, if the differential equation was not linear, then we used to call it a non-linear ordinary differential equation. These were two different categorization in ordinary differential equations. But over here in partial differential equation, we have different kind of different level of linearity involved in partial differential equation. The first kind of differential equation that I am going to introduce over here is called a quasi-linear partial differential equation. Quasi-linear partial differential equation of first order. Okay. What is this? Over here it says that if the differential equation is linear in the partial derivative, these are the two partial derivatives. Suppose we have a differential equation, this kind of differential equation. We have this kind of differential equation, and this kind of differential equation is said to be quasi-linear if it is linear in the partial derivatives del z del x and del z del y. And it may be nonlinear in the dependent variable z. That means z or z square or z cube or sine z, cos z, etc. Different functions of z may arise. Just linearity is about over here. The linearity is about the partial derivatives del z del x and del z del y, and their coefficients. The coefficients of these partial derivatives would be some functions of x, y, and z, and the right hand side quantity, the remaining portion, which is free of these partial derivatives, which is free of this partial derivative, that remaining portion, that we call it by that we designate it by the function r. This function r would also be a function of x, y, and z. So this is the definition of quasi-linear partial differential equation. So this is one kind of partial differential equation. Okay. Next, we call it next kind of differential equation. We call it almost linear partial differential equation, or in some books you will find that this is also known as semi-linear partial differential equation. So almost linear partial differential equation of first order or semi-linear partial differential equation of first order. What does it say? It says that if the partial derivatives are linear in the partial derivative in its partial derivatives, like that means linear in del z del x and linear in del z del y. Linear in del z del x and del z del y, it means that we would get del z del x and the power of del z del x would be equal to 1. We would not get higher power or higher degree of del z del x, and it should be in that case linear in the this partial derivatives in del z del x and this del z del y and their coefficients. If you recall the quasi-linear this kind of coefficients, these coefficients were functions of x, y, and z. But in case of semi-linear equation, these coefficients should be the function of the independent variables only. It may be x, y, it may be t or other variables as well. So these coefficients would not depend upon the independent. It would not depend upon the dependent variable z. These coefficients would not depend on the dependent variable z. They would depend on the independent variables. They would be functions of independent variables. They would never be function of the dependent variable z. Okay. However, the right hand side portion might be a function of the dependent variable z. Got it? So this kind of partial differential equation of first order, these are called semi-linear partial differential equation or almost linear partial differential equation of first order. Okay. Now I am going to define linear PD, simply linear partial differential equation of first order. Hmm? Linear partial differential equation of first order. What is this? It says that if the differential equation is linear in the partial derivatives as well as linear in the dependent variable z, and their coefficients are only functions of the independent variables x and y, then such differential equation is called a linear partial differential equation of order 1. Okay, such equations are called linear first order partial differential equation. And on the right hand side, you see it should also be a function of x and y, not function of z, because everything about z has been specified. The differential equation should be linear. So if we have any arbitrary function of z on the right hand side, it may become non-linear because of the presence of higher order of z. So that's why this kind of differential equations are called linear partial differential equation of first order. Hmm. And if the differential equation does not fall in these three categories, if a first order partial differential equation does not fall in these three categories, like quasi-linear partial differential equation, or a semi-linear or almost linear partial differential equation, or purely linear partial differential equation, then such differential equations are called non-linear partial differential equations. Okay. Now, for an example over here, you see if you look at this differential equation here, this is linear in z and its partial derivatives. So this is purely a linear partial differential equation. Okay. Next, you consider this differential equation. This is non-linear in z. But you see over here the partial derivatives are linear. And their coefficients are functions of x and y. So we can say that this is almost linear partial differential equation. Next, you consider this example over here. You see over here the right hand side is 0. Fine, no problem. This is linear in the partial derivatives del z del x. And what is the coefficient? Coefficient depends upon the dependent variable z. So this is quasi-linear partial differential equation. And the last example over here, you see this is not linear at all. This is del z del x whole square, del z del y whole square is there. So these are not linear differential equation. Neither it is of quasi-linear category, nor it is of almost linear category, nor it is of purely linear category. So this is non-linear partial differential equation. Got it? So this kind of differential equation, these are non-linear partial differential equations. All right. So over here in this syllabus, you will mostly study the linear differential equations, different kind of this linear, maybe almost linear, maybe purely linear, maybe quasi-linear differential equations. Mostly we shall study these three categories. The purely linear differential partial differential equation, or almost linear partial differential equation, and or maybe quasi-linear partial differential equation. And actually we have lots of study or lots of rich theory already developed in this differential equations, because in most of the applications, the traditional application that we shall discuss the application of partial differential equation, mostly wave equation, there are elliptic equation, maybe hyperbolic equations. So these equations are mostly actually linear differential equations. They are second order differential equation, although we have introduced the idea of linear or quasi-linear differential equation in terms of first order first order partial derivatives, but in second order partial derivative we have mainly three categories. But if it is nonlinear differential equation like this, we do not have any definite technique developed so far by which you can solve partial differential equation. That's why solving a partial differential equation is a very challenging job, and sometimes we take the help of ordinary differential equation. We generally have different kind of transformations by which we can generally we can convert a partial differential equation into ordinary differential equation. There is one technique, and some other techniques are there. They are mainly developed or depending on the numerical schemes. Already you have learned little bit about a little bit numerical analysis probably on differential solution of differential equation, if I'm not wrong, and rich theory on the solution of partial differential equation by numerical schemes. A rich theory has been developed there, and the theory depends on the computational capacity of the computer. So in this kind of solution, we generally find how the traditional superfast computers become very slow in the solution of partial differential equation. Hmm. So this is a very challenging job here. Anyway, I'm not talking about this nonlinear partial differential equation. If you are interested, if you find the topic interested in your higher study, you might be interested in the solution of nonlinear differential equation. This is actually one of the most sophisticated branch of mathematics and its application, depending on the programming as well as on the hardware capacity and as well as on mathematical development. Hmm. So and this is about different kind of linear and partial, linear and quasi-linear and non-linear partial differential equation. দেখো কারোর কোনো জায়গায় কোনো কোশ্চেন আছে? Any question? Anybody? Hello?
না স্যার নেই।
কোনো কোশ্চেন নেই? Okay. Actually this very elementary discussion হলো। ঠিক আছে। এই যখন তাহলে আমি কন্টিনিউ করি। Now a little discussion about the surface and its curves, যেটা একটু আগে বলতে যাচ্ছি। Over here I shall use some results of differential geometry. These results have been discussed in differential geometry, and if you want to study these results in detail, you can go through the book of Ghosh and Maiti, the differential calculus of vector valued functions. You'd get this kind of results. What is this? Suppose we have a relation like this f of x y z is equal to some constant. F of x y z is equal to some constant. Geometrically, what does it mean? Geometrically, for example, suppose we have this kind of relation, x square by a square. I'm just trying to give you a simple example, x square plus a square plus y square by b square plus z square by c square. Now, what is this? We know that this kind of expression is z square by c square minus 1, suppose, that is equal to 0. We know that this kind of expression represents an elliptic surface or ellipsoid. And depending upon the value of this quantity 1, it may be 1, it may be 2, it may be 3, or whatever it is. It may be any other kind of constant. And depending upon this kind of constant, we will get different kind of ellipsoid. Now over here, what is this expression? This expression x square, sorry, x square by a square plus y square by b square plus z square by c square. This expression is actually a function of x, y, and z. and this value, this right hand side c can be considered to be equal to 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever you call. So what I am trying to show over here is that this kind of expression f of x y z is equal to c, this kind of expression gives us a surface in three dimensional xyz space. All right. We can say that this kind of equation f of x comma y comma z is equal to c, this kind of equation will give a surface in three-dimensional space, as I have drawn in the previous picture, maybe. So maybe this kind of surface. It may give us this kind of surface, and for different value of c we will get different surface. Maybe this is for c is equal to 1, maybe we get one more surface like this, for c is equal to 2, and for different such value of c we will get different such surfaces. So we can say that the position of the surface will change depending upon the value of c. That's why if the surface is denoted by the notation capital S, suppose, then we can say that S would depend upon the value of the constant c. Depending upon the value of c, the position of the surface will get changed. That's why just not writing in this fashion S of c, we can write the surface in this fashion S suffix c. That is called the level surface. Okay, level surface of the function f. You see over here the function may be fixed, the function f, capital F, may be fixed, but depending upon different value of the constant c, the position of this level surface may get changed. And what is the value of this constant c? In order to determine the value of the constant c, what we generally do, we can take a point, x0, y0, z0 on the surface. And as because x0, y0, z0 is a point on the surface, therefore it must satisfy this kind of relation. So if we put x0, y0, z0 in terms of x, y, z, we will get this type of relation, f of x0, y0, z0 is equal to c. So this gives us the value of the constant c. So over here we can say that yes, we can write this c as f of x0, y0, z0. So we can now write the equation of the level surface in this fashion: capital F of x, y, z is equal to capital F of x0, y0, z0. Now a question comes in our mind that whether this equation or this equation of this surface, whether equation of this surface can be written in this fashion: some z is equal to some function of x comma y. Got it? What is the difference between these two expressions? This is actually an implicit representation, and this is actually an explicit representation of the surface. What I am trying to say is that over here we expect that z would be dependent upon the independent variables x and y, and in order to get this kind of relationship, that z would be a dependent variable on the independent variables x and y, what are the necessary conditions that we require? Generally, you see, if we have the equation of ellipsoid like x square by a square, maybe x square by 1 plus y square by 1, y square by suppose 2, and suppose z square by 3. Okay, z square by 3 suppose is equal to 1. Now, is it possible? Is it possible to represent this z in terms of x and y? you see, if you want to find, if you want to represent this z in terms of x and y, you will get plus minus root over of some quantity 1 minus x square, like this, 1 minus x square minus y square by 2. Okay, but for a single value of x and y, in that case you will get two different values of z. But you see, in the definition of a function, for a single value of x and y, we would get a single value of z. That is actually the definition of function. So over here we are getting actually two different functions. These are plus, for plus sign we will get one function, for minus symbol we will get another function. So this is actually a combination of two functions. Maybe more than two functions are also there, depending upon the expression, how complicated the function f is. So the computational complicacy may arise, but for theoretical idea at least, we can say that maybe this kind of implicit expression f of x y z is equal to c. This kind of implicit expression may have some explicit representation. The question is that, if it is possible to represent z in terms of x and y, then what are the mathematical conditions that is to be satisfied? Because we already got an example of an ellipsoid where z is not always possible to represent in terms of x and y as a function of x and y. So natural question comes in our mind that what would be the mathematical conditions under which this kind of explicit representation would be valid. And in order to get the idea of this kind of expression, we suppose that suppose z this x is a function of two parameters u and v, y is a function of two parameters u and v, and z is a function of two parameters u and v. And in these relations, if it is possible to solve the first two relations, suppose if it is possible to solve the first two relation and find the value of u and v in terms of x and y, suppose if it is possible to find this u as a function of x and y and this v as a function of x and y, we don't know whether it is possible or not. If it is possible to represent u and v as a function of x and y, then we could use these expressions of u and v over here, and ultimately z would be a function of x and y. Got it? Z would be a function of x and y. In that case, we will have this kind of explicit representation. Got it? So under which condition this kind of solution is possible? The condition is that this Jacobian, it is actually a kind of Cramer's rule. I'm not going to deduce all these results. You can get this kind of results in the in the implicit function theorem, in case of in the part that is the functions of several variables, calculus of functions of several variables. So from that portion I am using this result. So the condition under which this u and v can be represented as a function of x and y, the condition is that this kind of Jacobian would be not equal to 0. Got it? And in this book they have written u as a function lambda of x comma y and v as a function mu of x comma y. Got it? So that is the condition, that the Jacobian would be not equal to 0. And in such cases, if u and v are represented in terms of x and y, then this u and v can be written over here, can be put over here, And ultimately, you see, after putting u is equal to lambda xy, v is equal to mu of x comma y, this is the representation. That is actually, we can now say, yes, this is actually some kind of function of x comma y. So that is the condition under which implicit expression can have explicit representation. Okay, implicit expression can have explicit representation, and this kind of relation given by these three results, this kind of relation, x is equal to f1 of u comma v, y is equal to f2 of u comma v, and if z is equal to f3 of u comma v, this relation, this is actually called the parametric representation of the level surface. Parametric representation of this level surface, and this u and v, these two quantities u and v, are actually called the parameters of that surface. For example, over here, if you consider this kind of parametric representation over here, if you fix this value of r, small r, and vary this parameters theta and phi, then you will be able to find that this relation represents the surface x square plus y square plus z square is equal to r square. That is actually a sphere. And the question is that can does this parametric representation unique for a given surface? Answer is no. For a given surface, we may have different parametric representations. For example, this is the second parametric representation of the same surface. So a given level surface may have different parametric representations. Clear? So we require the idea of this kind of parametric representations in this study, because sometimes we need to make certain transformations by which the complicated form of partial differential equation becomes a much more easy and handy. So that's why we need to remember this kind of transformation formula. Okay, so these are some results. Now, in order to finish this class, we already got a result that z is equal to f of x comma y. That is actually the the explicit representation of this kind of level surface. Okay, that is actually the explicit representation of this kind of level surface. So this level surface is nothing but, we can consider this level surface as the solution to the surface, as the solution to the differential equation. Okay, and this quantity z is equal to f of x comma y, and that would be the explicit representation of the solution. Got it? So that is the main result I wanted to discuss today, and that's all for today, because I need to discuss something more regarding this normal and all. But before that, you please go through this part and try to make this result habituated, that what would be the geometric representation of grad f. Just this result, what is the geometric representation of grad f? I'm just if you just saying the result, not the deduction. Okay, what is grad of f? Grad of f is actually, it gives us a vector. And what is this vector? This is the vector along the normal to the surface at a particular point on that surface. Grad of f, this always represents a vector which is normal to this kind of surface f of x, y, z is equal to c. Grad f is a vector which is normal to the surface at the point under consideration on the surface. That is the geometric interpretation of grad f. That's why in whenever we have a level surface, we always, if we have a surface, then obviously we will have a normal vector. Without such normal vector, there is no surface at all. Got it? So this normal vector should be a non-vanishing vector. That's why we say that these three partial derivatives does not vanish simultaneously, because if these three partial derivatives vanish simultaneously, then in that case grad f would be equal to 0, and grad f would equal to 0 is never possible, because always we will have a নরমাল ভেক্টর টু আ লেভেল সারফেস, একটা লেভেল সারফেসে সবসময় নরমাল ভেক্টর থাকবেই থাকবে। Okay, so that is the necessary condition that these three partial derivatives would never vanish simultaneously, so that grad f is not a zero vector. That is one geometric idea that we shall require in the subsequent lectures. So that's all for this lecture. Thank you for being with us.